Some things in life just cannot be commanded. A general could command his army to charge into battle to defend its country, but it cannot command those soldiers to love their country. A boss can command his workers to meet certain production quotas, but he cannot command them to love their jobs. A parent can command that her child eat your spinach, but she cannot command her to love her spinach. We can command many things from people, but one thing we can never command from them, their love. For we love because we choose to, because we want to, because we get to. Okay, you might be asking, then why in the world does Jesus say in our gospel for today, "This is my commandment, that you love one another"? I mean, isn't this an oxymoron? Isn't he commanding what cannot be commanded? This sounds a whole lot like the golden rule. I mean, you've all heard of that before. Treat others in the same way that you want to be treated. Do unto others as you would want them to do unto you. If I do a favor for someone else, then I expect them to do a favor for me. If you scratch my back, I'll scratch your back. But when we look at what Jesus says in today's gospel, we see something very different. There are no conditions in what Jesus says. There are no ifs or buts. There are no threats of loss or promises of reward. In fact, dare I say it, what Jesus says is no commandment at all. There is no carrot and stick. There is no challenge to do something in order to get something. Instead, Jesus invites us to put to use what he has already given us. Or as we pointed out to the kids this morning, be who you are, what I made you to be. The context of Jesus' words makes that real clear. Jesus speaks to his disciples in the upper room on the night of his betrayal. Trouble lies ahead. One of them would betray him. All of them would abandon him. His disciples are afraid and confused. And Jesus responds by assuring them that he will not abandon them, for he has chosen them. They are his friends. He will lay down his life for them. They need not be afraid. It is such fear that often keeps us from loving. We are afraid of the future, or afraid of a stranger. When we have something to hide and that we do not want someone else to see, we throw up walls, hide behind doors. We can only think about one thing. What's in it for me? We are impatient with those who are different. And then, like the priest and the Levite in the parable of the Good Samaritan, we walk by on the other side of the road, concerned only with ourselves, afraid of taking time to help the guy in the ditch, afraid that it might cost us. It is to such frightened and worried disciples that Jesus speaks the comforting words of today's gospel. We are his friends. He has chosen us. He will not abandon us. He loves us so much that he will lay down his life for us. And Jesus goes to the cross, bearing all the fears and secrets that we have wanted to keep hidden. Jesus carries all that saps the life out of our hearts all the way to the grave, suffering the consequences for us so that we might have his life. Because we know that God has raised Jesus from the dead so that we might be free from all that might make us cower in fear and walk by on the other side, and that keep us from loving. With God on our side, what is there to hold us back? We don't have to be worried about what's in it for me. Indeed, we can forget about ourselves, giving ourselves away for the sake of those in need. I call these commands that are not commands. I call this the second use of the gospel. If the first use of the gospel is that startling, amazing announcement of God's unconditional love for us in Jesus Christ, then the second use of the gospel is Jesus' loving commandment. To put love to work, to love one another as he has loved us. And folks, look carefully. There are no threats of punishment or promises of reward, for this command is a get to because of what Jesus has already done for us. There is no cajoling or arm twisting. It is no scolding or finger shaking. It is as natural. Comes as naturally to us as a banana tree bearing bananas, an apple tree bearing apples, a fish choosing to swim, a bird choosing to fly, a dog choosing to bark, and a human being choosing to breathe. Is that not what you do when this is what you are? When Jesus speaks to us in these conditional sentences, as he does in today's gospel, it sounds like this. If a condition is fulfilled, then things change. Like, if you eat your spinach, then you get your dessert. If you do well on your test, then you get an A. But there is also another kind of conditional sentence that we use. Such sentences declare that if something is true, then such and such will happen. For example, easy one here. If you are David Moskrip, an incredible musician, an accompanist with great keyboard skills, which is true, then you play the piano and sing the songs and lead the praise band. That's what you do. If you are LeBron James, the NBA star with incredible physical skills, which is true, then what do? If this is true, then you dunk the basketball and you make 3-pointers and you fake defenders out of their shoes. If we are loved by Jesus, which is true, then we love one another. It is what you do when you're loved by Jesus. It is like, winning the lottery. What do you do with a winning lottery ticket? Go bury it in the backyard? Of course not. A winning lottery ticket begs you to do something, to cash it in, to put it to use. not bury it in the backyard. Because you now have the power to do things you could not do before. It's like Christmas morning, and your children see gifts under the tree, and what do you say to them? You speak commands. But these are not ordinary commandments. These words are part of the gift. You say to them commands, imperatives like open, enjoy the gifts. There are no conditions, no ifs, no buts. I mean, the Christmas gifts will no longer be gifts if you've first had to clean your bedroom or wash the dishes. Instead, these friendly commands invite us to open to what has been given. This is love that is not concerned about following a command. There is no worry about getting it right. There is no regard for self or what's in it for me. It's all about the other. And this love is so special. It is so special that the New Testament virtually invents a new word to name it. It takes a very rare word in ancient Greek, the word for love, agape. It makes it the centerpiece of the story of God's love for the world in Jesus Christ. First century Greeks used a variety of words to describe that for which our English only has one word, love. First, there is philos love, from which comes Philadelphia, love of friends, love of another. But friends only love those who want to be friends in return. Friendship ends when one of our friends is not living up to their end of the deal. And there is storge love, the love that we might have for a hot dish of popcorn or a luscious chocolate ice cream sundae. This love loves those things that we love, that we crave, that please our taste buds or our eyes with a sense of pleasure. And there is eros love, erotic love, the romantic love that people have for one another. But this love, too, is only directed to those worth loving. Oh, you make my heart go pitter-patter. You do. Not because you're ugly or disagreeable, but because I find you attractive, beautiful, or handsome. But agape love is like none of these. This is love for the unlovable. This love chooses not to love someone simply because they're worth loving, but loves because it wants to. The beloved becomes lovable because of the love of the lover. Let me say that again. The beloved becomes lovable because of the love of the lover. It is the love of Jesus. For the ungodly, for sinners and outcasts who rightly deserve none of it. It is like the love of a mother for her children, who loves them even when they are misbehaving, disrespectful, rude, and downright unlovable. It is the love of God which moves us to treat someone with respect and compassion, even when we don't like them. In my congregation in Fort Wayne, when I was serving there were two German immigrants who I got to know very well, Elizabeth and Henry. Oh, they loved each other. And they loved to talk of life in the old country. Henry was even a pilot in the German Luftwaffe. And you know, they even kind of liked that good old Adolf Hitler because chocolate became affordable. I heard all these stories. Henry loved me to stop by in the summer afternoon and sip a German beer with him as he reminisced. And one day, Henry was struck down by a cruel stroke. Elizabeth could no longer care for him at home. She had to put him in a nursing home. Elizabeth's love for Henry and her dedication to his needs were amazing. Every day she went to the nursing home to care for him, feed him, dress him, assist him with the most basic of his needs, even changing his soiled clothes as he lay there in bed. And the staff was stunned. They scoffed at her dedication and quietly ridiculed her for being there every day, caring for her husband when he didn't even know it was her. I mean, was she trying to work off some guilt? Was she trying to impress someone? Was she simply a little crazy? What was in this for her? They didn't get it. During one afternoon visit, I entered the room and saw Elizabeth singing into Henry's ear a German song. I did not know the song, but I knew enough German to recognize a few words. Maybe Albert could tell us what the German words for this would be, but it was a familiar song that many of us learned as a child. We know it goes like this. Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. Then it became clear to me why she so loved the man who was incapable of giving her any love in return. It revealed why her love made no sense to a nursing home staff that it could only understand commands and rules and doing something because of what you get in return. You see, this is what Elizabeth wanted to do. She wouldn't have it any other way. She was keeping the commandment that was no commandment for her. It was a get to, not a have to. What makes the difference? What makes the difference? What made the difference for Elizabeth? Jesus. It was because of him. We are free to stop counting, to stop calculating, and stop measuring. Because of him, we do not have to keep score. Because of him, this is what we do. Like bananas bearing bananas and grapevines bearing grapes and apple trees bearing apples. Today's second reading from 1 John puts it well when it says, "For the love of God is this, that we obey his commandments." And listen to this. "And his commandments are not burdensome." See, such love is not demanded. Such obedience has no obligation. Such behavior cannot be coerced. It is no burden to carry. It is what we get to do. It is what happens when a commandment is no longer a commandment, but a precious invitation to enjoy a gift, the gift of Christ, his agape, His love, His gift, that is like nothing else. What can we say? Well, we always say what I would say at one of these messages. You could join me. You remember? Thanks be to God.